So I'm just gonna make another video on the INFJ door slam. Um, I think this topic is intriguing, and I was thinking about it, and I think that the infamous INFJ door slam is good and bad. What do I mean by this? So, I elaborated in another video, and I basically said that I think INFJs give people the benefit of the doubt, and we keep hoping that they'll come around and meet us where we're at. A lot of times they don't, and then we get a little irritated and then resentful to the point where I guess we encounter so much pain, emotional pain inside, that as a self defense mechanism, we end up slamming the door, like closing it permanently, usually. And yeah, that can be perceived as bad. And yeah, it may not be the most mature way to handle it. But I feel like depending on where you're at, you need to do what you need to do in the moment in order to preserve yourself, in order for self care. You know what I mean? Because I think, like, in another video, I stated that I feel like we have a tendency to tolerate a lot of abuse. And when I mean abuse, I mean like sometimes physically, sometimes mentally, sometimes emotionally. Um, but we, tolerate a lot of abuse because we're giving the people the benefit of the doubt, hoping that they'll, meet us where we're at. And, you know, um, I don't know, but I think like what happens pretty much at the end of it all, like we get really angry, and instead of using that anger in a productive way to resolve or salvage a friendship that could potentially flourish, you know, we have a tendency to slam the door or ice people out. And like I said, it depends on your level of maturity, and it depends on, you know, your level of tolerance. And I guess the only and best way that you know how to deal with it in that moment to prevent any more hurt from incurring, and again, for self preservation um, purposes, that's our defense mechanism. A more mature INFJ, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, right or wrong, because we're all in our own like space and level of progression, like it's not good or bad, right or wrong. It just depends on like your level of awareness and understanding and maturity. All these things come into play. But I think a more mature INFJ, depending on the relationship and how much they've invested in it and how much they are willing to, I don't know, how much more energy they're willing to use to maintain the relationship based on their level of care. A more mature INFJ will actually use that resentment and anger to speak their truth. And it's scary. It's scary. I mean, it's easier to slam the door, right? Because then you kind of can forget it even existed and just walk away. Um, and that's okay too. If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. I've done it. I've done it many times because when I was younger, I just didn't know another way to deal with it. But as I get older, I realize that there are other options besides, slamming the door or allowing abuse to keep happening. Um, it's a new concept that I've been applying, but it's been really liberating and healing. And what I do now is, instead of slamming the door or allowing abuse, I will speak my truth. And I think INFJs in general spend so much time in isolation that they and spend so much time self-reflecting and being our own worst critics so that we can enhance ourselves and refine ourselves, we can see pretty clearly. Like, we can see a lot of the things that most people miss, or a lot of the things that most people are oblivious to. So I think that when we come to a conclusion, we spend so much time like assessing the situation from many angles that, when we come to a conclusion, we've done the work. But like I said, instead of door slamming people or icing them out or allowing abuse to incur, just speak your truth. Just tell the person straight up, like, I don't appreciate how you've been treating me. Your behavior has, you know, me feeling a certain way, and by doing this, like, you bring light to the situation, and then you give the person opportunities to change. But by slamming the door, you just don't give anyone the opportunity at all, and both of you guys end up losing, and maybe that was meant to be lost. Who knows, right? I feel like everything happens for a reason, and maybe at that stage of your life when you were door slamming, maybe that was a relationship or friendship that was meant to be done with, but then moving it along, there's other options to deal with really emotionally charged situations. And like I said, I've just been speaking my truth instead of silently retracting myself and slamming the door. You know what I mean? And it depends. It depends on how much I care for these people, how much I care about these relationships or connections. If it's something that's not really, something that doesn't really hold value or worth to me, then I have no problem walking away. If the people mean something to me, I will most definitely just speak my truth and help them to understand me, since I understand them and I understand the situation. And yeah, and then you give people opportunities to grow, and to become more aware of what's going on. Like, most people aren't even aware that they're hurting you. Most people, I'm not saying all, because we do have narcissistic and sociopathic and psychopathic people running around. That's not the same thing. I'm talking about people who really, really just don't know. They haven't been shown another way, and they haven't thought about things in another light. And so you have the ability to shed light on the situation. And yep. Another thing about door slams, I feel like, I know the door slam has been labeled as a negative thing, but it can be a positive thing. Most people have a hard time letting go of stuff, and I think we do too, because we hold on way longer than we should to relationships that have run their course. But what's cool about when we slam the door, like, it's pretty permanent, and we have no problem moving along, moving to the next level, moving to taking the next step, whereas some people get fixated on being stuck. Once we make up our minds that we're going to slam a door on someone, we've mulled it over for a prolonged period of time, and we're pretty sure that our decision is valid, So once we slam that door, it's like we're moving it along. We disconnect emotionally, and from a logical perspective, this is the best thing to do, and we just move forward. And I think that's what's so great about us is, we give people benefit of the doubt, but at the same time we are realistic, and we realize when something has run its course and we've exhausted all our options, and okay, moving it along, moving it on, closing the chapter, opening a new one. You know what I mean? So yeah, door slamming can be good or bad, and depending on your level of maturity, That will determine whether you slam the door or not, or how much abuse you will allow. But I think overall, like as you mature, you learn that, you know, sometimes some situations are worth salvaging, and you break past the fear and you make yourself really vulnerable, and you let people know what you're actually feeling and what's actually on your mind. And then people stay or people go, and either way, it's okay because we're always moving forward anyway, right? Anyhow, I don't know if anything I said made sense, but I felt the need to outlet it anyway. Blessings to one and all. Amen.